Come on in. We will get started now, and just a reminder to give your name and affiliation the first time you ask a question. The players will be here from 1:25 to 1:40, and then Coach Barnes will come in. So with that, we will get started. Floor is open for questions. Right down here in front. Do we have a microphone? We do.
PJ Brown, Arizona Daily Star. This is for Kate. What's it like for you coming back from this injury? And, it was about 3.5 weeks ago. You didn't play. You were going through getting better and then, healing and everything. And then you come out and you score 16 points last night.
Well, it was one of my first major injuries that I've ever had my whole life. So that was really something that was hard for me mentally at the very beginning. But my teammates, a lot of them have had injuries like that or, serious injuries. So they helped me a lot, encouraging me. My athletic trainer did a great job with rehab. So I felt really confident to come back on the floor and be the same that I was or almost the same. So, I was really excited to be back on the floor with my teammates. It's a perfect time. March Madness, it's exciting. So I was really happy to be back last night. I was really confident.
Front row.
Javier Morales, All Sports Tucson. Bendu, Kelly from North Carolina had a big game yesterday. Going into a game like that, matched up against possibly her or a player that scores like her, what's your mindset?
Just not let her score. Just make her take a lot of tough shots. She likes a lot of pull-ups, so just make a lot of her pull-ups really hard. She likes going left a lot, so try to force her right to make her uncomfortable. So just making her as uncomfortable as possible. I think I have a lot of length, and I'm a little taller than her, so I think it's going to help me have a little advantage.
And then for Sam, coming off last night, the win, how do you guys refocus and get set for a really good North Carolina team?
Yeah, I just think knowing that this is the tournament, so, you celebrate last night, and then tomorrow we wake up, we watched film, just preparing for North Carolina. We know they're probably going to be a better team than UNLV was. So just being ready, following the scouting report, and knowing, what we did yesterday was good, but it means nothing now. We focus on the next game. It's 0-0 right now.
Kim.
Kim, Arizona Desert Swarm. Kate, going back to, you talked about other people having these injuries, and Adia mentioned Shayna had been through it. What did she tell you?
The biggest thing was I was kind of nervous. Having played in 3 weeks and coming back, not knowing, not having any expectations for what could possibly happen. So she said, just go out there, don't be nervous, don't think about it, because a lot of times when you think about it, that's when you can hurt yourself. So, I just went out there and did exactly that, didn't think about it one time. So she's been great, especially right after the injury. I came back, after the x-ray and stuff, and she was in the locker room, and she was really talking to me and just telling me to keep my head up, just work hard, focus on rehab. And, she's been great.
So this is for Sam. This is PJ from Arizona Daily Star. So what did you see from Kate during this time? She's shooting right away, and she injured her, she's right-handed, she injured her right shoulder. And then to come back and not be tentative and to really be the player, a lot of the player that she normally is. And what did you see during those weeks while she was, maybe off to the side shooting or then getting into scrimmages? And what did that look like from your perspective?
Yeah, well, Kate's been a competitor. She's always been a competitor. She's probably one of the most competitive people on this team in practice. She's going hard. It's the last second play of every game, I feel like, on every possession. So, I knew when the injury happened and we kind of figured out what it was, and the time coming back, she was just going to work as hard as she could to be back here because she obviously wanted to help us out during the March Madness run. So, just seeing her dedicated, doing rehab all the time, working with Jessie on the side, and then also not rushing back into it, really vocalizing, what feels good, what doesn't feel good. And then as a team, we're all just there supporting her. So coming into this game, obviously, we knew it was her first game and didn't know how she was going to feel because it is nervous coming back from an injury. But I think after she hit that 3, I was like, okay, Kate's back. We're good to go.
Ryan?
Hi, question for Sam. Ryan, Finley, Arizona Daily Star. What have you seen from Carolina's guard play on tape, and how dynamic are they?
Yeah, so it's weird. I think Carolina's a offensive team just like UNLV, so I feel like UNLV was more post-dominated, where North Carolina is now guard-dominated, so it's going to be a little switch up for the guards. So they have a lot of great guards coming in. Obviously, we talked about Kelly, Littlefield. They're very athletic. They like to score, and so we know they're a transition team. They're going to run and do as much as they can to get those transition offense. So I think we're just going to have to stay true to ourselves, play our defense, put pressure on them, because obviously they're able to hit pull-ups, threes. They're three-level scorers all around on the guard, all around with the guards. So just do what we can.
Is there anybody who they remind you of in the Pac-12?
Probably Utah, I would say. Just scoring, shooting the threes, hitting screens off pull-ups, just doing it all.
Up front?
This question's for Kate. After that three-pointer you made at the beginning, you let out a loud scream, that late bucket to get Young fouled out, you were stomping on the court. Just what does that do? I mean, where does that come from? Just talk about that emotion.
I mean, that's always the player I've been. I'm a very emotional player. I get hype. So, I mean, those plays just really bring out, the best in me. So that was really exciting. The three, I was a little nervous shooting before practice and stuff. I wasn't too sure how it was going to be with my shoulder and the brace. So being able to hit my first three gave me a lot of confidence, and I just felt really good for the rest of the game.
And Bendu, when you see that from her, what goes to your mind when you see Kate reacting like that?
It gets lit. I love when she reacts like that, because it makes everybody, hyped. And, when, especially Kate coming back, we miss that energy. So having that energy back on the floor is amazing.
Sam, Carolina was down by 10 to SFA. You guys had your difficulty with UNLV. Iowa went out today. I mean, when you see these things, what do you think about?
Yeah, just knowing that the seeding doesn't really matter. Just coming into the game, following your game plan, and knowing that you could get beaten on any given night, so you have to bring your best, play like it's your last game. I think us and North Carolina kind of got our jitters out the first game, so I think we're both going to bring it to a next level this game tomorrow. So just knowing that they're probably going to play 10 times better, 10 times harder, Sweet 16 on the line, your season's on the line, you want to go to that next region. So probably just everyone's going to be on their A game tomorrow.
Back row to the right.
Hey, Shelby Swanson with the Daily Tar Heels. So you all are a team that prides yourself on your defense. You rank first in the Pac-12 in scoring, defense, and turnovers force. And you're going up against a UNC team who just played SFA, and they do the 2-2-1 zone press. How are you looking to give them a sort of different defensive look?
I think we're just going to pressure. I mean, that's what Arizona is about, pressure defense, trying to turn them over. And so we're not going to do anything different. We're just going to do the same thing and just pressure and try to turn them over and, get easy points off of turnovers.
Next question. Front row to the right.
And I was just looking at the stats for North Carolina. I mean, they put up 38 rebounds. You guys put up 22 last night, and I believe that they put up like 36. Just kind of what's your game plan to stay competitive on getting those rebounds?
I mean, first of all, in our game yesterday, we didn't really jump out on top and defensively, and that's not something that we normally do. So we have to come out ready defensively, play Arizona defense, and we just got to box out. I think that'll be a huge focus for us. Rebounding is going to be huge for us. So I think just being able to lock down, focus, because right now it's do or die for everyone.
All right. I just wanted to ask about having that sort of home court advantage. I was in the media room yesterday and just could hear the Arizona fans roaring all the way from in there, and they were loud during that UNLV game. How important will it be for you all to have that support in tomorrow's game?
Go ahead. I mean, I think we have some of the best fans in the country. They're always behind us. They're our sixth man. We love them. So I think every game, every home game, it's an advantage for us. No one really wants to come in here and play us because of the fans that we bring. We had 10,000 something yesterday, so we're trying to sell out tomorrow. So I think the community is excited for us, and we're excited. So they're going to be a big part for tomorrow.
Front row. Kim. We're wearing out our mic holder.
So I'm going to go back to the rebounding because that's been a issue for you guys for a while. It looked like yesterday there were a few times where you guys got ball watching in rebounds and UNLV just came in and took them. What do you have to do to fix that? I mean, what do you think's happening?
Yeah, I think it's a mentality. I think rebounding's all about just the effort you put in. It doesn't take much skill to turn around, box someone out, and rebound. So I think against UNLV, we kind of relied on our size a little bit much, which was why we got caught ball watching, just because we feel like we could out-jump them and just, get the rebounds, which wasn't the case. So definitely coming into this game knowing we just have to work on techniques and have the right mentality of, okay, we got to box out because we know North Carolina's a great offensive rebounding team. So we're going to have to go in and really focus on our boxing out and rebounding if we want to win the game.
Front row.
This question's for any of you guys. You started out cold or slow shooting-wise last night coming off the Colorado game, and then it kicked in toward the end of the second quarter. Was it a lot mental, those misses? You guys missed a lot of short-range shots. I mean, just talk about how you guys were able to overcome that start.
Maybe it was jitters, nerves, being the first March Madness game. I don't know, but that's definitely just a mental lack for us. I think we just need to get out there. We need to jump out there from the beginning. I think we were all serious, so I don't think it was anything like that. I think it was just, we were missing shots. They were hitting tough shots. So I think that's sometimes how it happens, but tomorrow we have to be on our A game.
I also think that, the ball has changed too. We're not playing with a Nike ball. So I think it's a little harder and you have to adjust differently because the ball is not the same as you used to play with. We played with Nike balls the whole year. Now we switched to Wilson. So it's a little different, So I think that's kind of with our shooting. It's a little bit it's just different a little bit. The texture is different. So.
We have time for a few more questions. Back row to the right.
All right, so 11 players on your current roster have experience in the tournament, and you guys obviously went to the championship game last year. Can you talk about how that experience factors into tougher games like you're going to see tomorrow?
Yeah, I think it definitely helps us having that experience, just knowing, the pressure that happens in certain games, knowing that it's only one game at a time. You get upset, you could be the person that's getting upset or being the upsetter. So just having that experience really is beneficial for us. And then last year, it was completely different being in the bubble. So it was like we were playing an away game every time, which honestly I think is more beneficial for us now that we have it at home because we knew what it's like to play away. Now we have home court advantage, but we are still able to play like it's, our last game, we're as if we were away. So I think just having that mentality and obviously just going in knowing the quick turnarounds that it takes. In the Pac-12, we obviously play Friday, Sunday. So this is kind of similar, but just knowing having those quick turnarounds in the tournament, we kind of have that experience knowing what it's like.
Any other questions for the players? Up front.
Sam, were you able to talk to, obviously you probably were able to talk to Jade last night. What was that conversation like, and what was the family togetherness like after that game?
Yeah, it was nice. I got to talk to my family and then all the friends that we had around. We were just super happy that Jade obviously got to play a little bit, and then obviously I was happy we won. So it was mixed emotions, but Jade will be at the game on Monday. She's able to stay, so now she'll be an Arizona fan.
Up front.
When Jade checked in, I kind of saw you stand up and what could you do, and then kind of sit back down. Were you kind of trying to get back on the floor with her? Or?
I was just joking around a little bit, put me back on. But I wasn't expecting to play. It was just a little joke, little sister on sister action we could have got for the last minute of the game. But it was all fun. I was glad to see her go in the game, so she deserved that.
Any other questions? Ladies, you're done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of the day. Also, a reminder, if you haven't heard this, a recording of the press conference will be available in the NCAA Digital Media Hub at www.ncaa.veritone.com, and transcripts are provided by ASAP and will be posted shortly. Coach Barnes will be here shortly. Hi, Coach. Okay, we'll get started, and Coach, I think you know our routine to open up with a statement for us.
Happy with yesterday. Definitely happy that we were able to take care of home court advantage and win a game at home. But now it's on to the next one. It's one of those things where quick turnaround. You can only celebrate for a few minutes, and then you got to think about your next opponent. So our next opponent, North Carolina, and obviously they're a good team. We know that, playing at home. And I think one of the advantages from the Pac-12 is we're used to playing Friday, Sunday. So I think that in the tournament, that really typically, in most years, helps us. So hopefully it does this year, just that quick turnaround.
Ryan?
Hi, Ryan Finley with the Daily Star. What have you seen from Kelly in North Carolina? It seemed like she got pretty hot yesterday in the second half. And what's that point guard matchup going to look like tomorrow night?
Yeah, so I'm really familiar with her, obviously, from the recruiting process and just watching her for many years and playing for my friend's AAU club. She's a scorer. I think that what's really stepped out about her game is she has an incredible mid-range jumper, but now she's been very consistent from the three. And she's been really hot as of late. So I think it's going to be a battle, and they're two very different players, but I think it's going to be fun. And I think, Shayna has to definitely disrupt her and pressure her, but then, Shayna has to always defend her and defend her mid-range game. And I think one of the things that she's really effective in doing is rejecting screens and left-hand pull-ups, so we're going to have to slow her down.
Next question. Front row.
Javier Morales, All Sports Tucson. Adia, the rebounding, UNLV rebounding you guys for 36 to 22, and North Carolina has some good rebounds, but they're mostly guards or small forward types. Just comment about what kind of challenge that is for you guys.
So I think, we didn't do a good job of that yesterday, and a lot of it had to do with our slow rotations. And I think because we were in slow rotations, we weren't doing good on the backside for rebounds. And I don't know why, because we've been pretty good at that, like especially against Colorado and just late in the season. So have to rebound better, have to box out better, and definitely have to box out perimeter players. I know that if I think of a couple keys in this game, the first one, transition defense, the second one, boxing out. So those are things that we have to do. They're tough, they're physical, and we're going to have to do that in order to win the game. If we don't, then we won't win the game. So it's just going to be a mentality. It's one of those things where I can't take 2 hours today and work on boxing out and transition defense. It's something at this point you got to just want to do it and have the mindset and the mentality. Because to me, boxing out, that's just a mindset. That's not you have to be uber skilled to do it. You just have to be able to have some technique, put a body on someone, and have the mentality to do it. So we don't do that, we won't win the game.
PJ?
PJ Brown, Arizona Daily Star. Adia, Kate coming back from this injury so quickly is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
She went from not playing at all, doing some shooting, eventually working back into scrimmages, and coming out yesterday and knocking down 16 points. What was that like? What did you see in her to make this recovery so quickly?
I knew that she was going to do that. I mean, I would have been shocked if she didn't come in and have at least 12 to 15 points because I've been watching her every day in practice. So it was one of those things that obviously the first week after the injury, she didn't do a whole lot getting mobility back, but she had pretty good mobility after a couple of days. So I was optimistic, knowing that the turnaround for the Pac-12 was really quick. So in my mind, it was like, why rush her for the Pac-12 and be 70, 60% when we can save her, get 2 more weeks. Remember, we had that 2-week hiatus. And then she has over like a month or 5, I think it was almost a month to get better. So I think that also gave her a lot more confidence because she had time in practice to get the banging. And so it's not like her first contact was the game. So she had been doing that for like a week and a half in practice. So I think that correlated to in the game to be confident, ready, and I think not hesitant. And I think, but the mentality of Kate is a separator. And one of the things that makes her special is that she can just come in the game and do that. Because different having contact in practice, and then a game when people are hanging on you and stuff. But she's strong today, not a lot of soreness. So, I mean, I'm really impressed with how she responded. But that's who she is. So I'm not surprised at all.
Ryan Finley with the Daily Star. Obviously, 2 scoring point guards, but
Yeah.
you look around the country, there are a lot of scoring point guards. How has that position evolved since you played?
I think it's different. I think like teams either have like one of 2 point guards, obviously, one that's a really big scorer or one that's a really good facilitator. I think if you look at some top teams in the country, they'll have a point guard that's more of a facilitator. I think that if you look at us in North Carolina, it's not like those are 2 really capable scoring point guards in different ways. So I think it's kind of what you have in your personnel, but I think that they have a complement of they can play different ways. They can run Deja at the 1 or the 2. So to me, she's not only a point guard, and Deja and Shayna is not only a point guard too because she can slash. I think the difference is Deja Kelly is more pull up and threes, and Shayna is more to the rim, open court. So different in that way, but I think it's going to be a battle. I think it's a really exciting matchup for basketball and for March Madness. But it's going to be a matchup on both teams where we both have to control the point guards. So I think that for both of us, I think North Carolina goes when Deja goes. We go when Shayna goes. So we both have to slow each other's point guards down.
Kim Doss, Arizona Desert Storm. Adia, you talked about Sam needs to take more shots, and we had a period in the middle of the season where she did. How do you get her back to that?
Yeah, I think that, so, of course I always evaluate that. And I don't think she passed up a lot of shots. I just think people are guarding her too. So I think maybe I'd say maybe 3 or 4 times yesterday watching the film that she maybe passed up some shots. But I do see in some situations why she did. A lot of times it's, the first reversal, and those are shots I don't want. So I think that us as a team and finding a way to look for her on certain penetrations or after movement. And I think that's kind of the part that we're missing right now, making that extra pass faster and driving and kicking a little bit faster. And then to her, she has to be aggressive, but she's not only a shooter. She can get in the open court and go. My rule is you don't have to look for the point guard. So I think just different ways for her to be aggressive, because she was aggressive at one point in the season, and she's capable. So we need that from her, and we know people don't go under on balls on her. They don't leave her, but then that's good in some ways because it opens up the floor for Shayna. So I think I got to put her in situations where I can have people create for her a little bit more, and she can create off certain situations, and I can do that and help her a little bit more.
Front row.
Adia, you mentioned Kelly and recruiting. Did you recruit her, or was that just part of the AU scene?
A little bit, not a whole lot. Just because I think I had, I thought she was going to go and stay kind of in more of her region, so not hard. And it was kind of, I wasn't here that long, so we were just building the program. So I didn't recruit her hard, but I did recruit her. I did recruit her some, but I probably should have recruited her a lot harder and took my chance, because not like she stayed in Texas. I think at the time, when a lot of her class, a lot of those players were staying in Texas, and Baylor was right there. So Kim Mulkey was at Baylor, so much competition. But yeah, definitely should have recruited her a lot harder after watching her. And she went to North Carolina. I was like, I should have taken my shot and then recruited her from Arizona, because I really like her, love her family. Knew her mom from AAU, and was good friends with Jason Terry, who she played for. But she's a really good player. Yeah, need to find me some Deja Kellys.
Front row. PJ.
So, Adia, we know what Kate's output is, and how important she is point-wise. But what about the intangibles, and what about the intangibles for the rest of the team, knowing that she came back like this and she's raring to go?
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of factors. So everybody always immediately says, okay, scoring, she helps you score. Yes. I don't think that's the most impactful thing. I think that definitely helps, because at time, we go through some droughts. And then that's when we rely a lot on our defense. But I think the things that she really helps in is she knows the system. She's been in my system 4 years, or almost 4 years. She understands the way we need to play. She has experience from the championship game at a very high level. She knows what it takes to win. She's a winner. And so it's not all about the scoring. It's about her getting hype on certain possessions and plays, about her talking on the floor, her chemistry between her and Lauren are very cohesive. And our starting five is a cohesive unit. I think that, off the floor, bringing energy on the bench, all those things make it even more valuable. And at the times when we need a big bucket, we can rely on her. And she had some great moves down the stretch. So all those things, and then her aggressiveness, because a lot of times we tend to not be super aggressive, and she brings that. So it's all those things in addition to her scoring that make her special, and just a leader on her team. She's a captain, so I think those things make us go. And you know, I said before, she doesn't get hurt at the end of the season, and we don't end the way we did. And I think we would also been a different result in the Pac-12 tournament. And I think we would have had more success, but it is what it is. I think anybody loses one of their best players and their second leading scorer is very different without them. So you bring them back, it's the psychology of a team too. They're more confident. You know you have another weapon. I think it's all those things that play a factor because the mental part of our game is really important.
Next question. Front row to the right.
Hi, Asher Boseman with the Daily Wildcat. And I remember talking to you before in the earlier press conference about how you're preparing your younger players, and you kind of said it's not time to mess around with your lineups, but you dug really deep into your bench last night. Was that kind of just on a needed to do, or do you anticipate kind of getting your bench involved a little more?
So I always want to do that. I think, you know, as a coach, you always want to give your younger players experience because they're your future, right? So giving them some experience, 5 minutes in an NCAA tournament, it prepares them and knows what to expect. It's a different level of stress and different level of pressure. So I think those are things that are valuable, like long term. And definitely Gisela and Anna Grad and Nettie and those players you definitely want for the future. But I think there's a time and a place, and you know, these games are tight, so it's not like we have a 20-point cushion where you can mess around. So yesterday, like that, it was still a game. But, you know, I think as a coach, you don't want last second one of your starters to get hurt either. So I think there's a combination of things. Definitely some minutes to learn from for our freshmen, but that's what it is. It's a learning process. But as a coach, you can't do that when games are important because you lose, your season's over. So I think that you have to figure out when to give players experience at the right time and also put them in a situation where they can be successful, not put them in a situation where it's really difficult. So, you know, but yeah, I always want to do that. I always want to go deep. If I could, as a coach, if I could play 15 people, I would. Because, you know, you want to, as a coach, reward people that work hard every day, do the things you have a great attitude. Like, I want to play them. And sometimes it's hard because there's a balance of wanting to play and make everybody happy, and there's a balance of winning games. So I think as a coach, that's hard. Some coaches probably don't care. For me, I was a player, so I know what that feels like, so I care. But I also have to do my job and do what's best for the team and play who's going to help us win. And sometimes that looks different. So, yeah, it's hard.
Back row.
Shelby Swan. Oh my gosh! Wow, the mic got loud. Shelby Swanson, Daily Tar Heel. You talked a little bit about just getting your rebounds up, but what are the keys, the main keys that you're breaking down to your players for beating UNC?
One thing, transition defense. I think that they're really good in transition. They go fast. They have multiple people bring the ball up the floor. It's not just the point guard, and they attack you off the dribble. The second thing, you know, we have to box out, and we know that. And we've done really well at that at times. We just didn't do well at that last night. But I anticipate us doing well at that because that's a focal point today. And I think those are some two big keys. I think that if we do those things, I think we give ourselves a chance to win. If we don't guard them well in transition and we don't box out and rebound, we won't win the game. So I think on the flip side, we have to do those things. We're pretty good in transition ourselves. And, I think we do those things in transition. Also, a lot of times teams that are really good at something, they also aren't great at defending that. So I think that we can have a big advantage in open court. And we get stops. I think our pressure can disrupt them too. So I think there's different things that we can do. It's similar to the keys probably they have where we can be successful.
Thank you. And your players just talked about it earlier, but UNC has some really dynamic guard play that allows them to score at all three levels. What have you all been talking about as far as a defensive strategy against this?
We're not changing any defensive strategy because we're pretty good defensively. So we know what their strengths are. We know that, I think North Carolina has one of the best mid-range games in the country. Deja Kelly's phenomenal off mid-range and multiple players. So I think we know we have to guard that. We know that we have to box out. We know that they sometimes play small. Like yesterday, they played small some, so we might have to play small in just different ways like that. So we don't really change what we do defensively. We kind of do what we do, and we make people adjust to us. Because one of my philosophies is if I can sell other people's practice time, then we're doing something right. So you have to prepare for certain things against Arizona, and that's a strength. So I'm not going to go away from that. But we have to play solid defensively. We have to be able to guard them on balls. We have to be able to guard them in transition and rebound to win the game. If we don't do those things, we won't win the game. So I don't think it's going to be a game where it's just flat X's and O's. I don't think that. I think it's going to be who's more physical, who can do those things well, who can push the ball, who can defend the transition, because on both teams we're good at transition too, and then who can rebound better. I think that will be the team that wins the game. I
Time
don't think it's
for one
consistent.
last question. And we got one. Here we go.
Adia, Bandu made a comment about the new Wilson ball that it has a different feel to it, and that might have affected the early on shooting. Have you felt the ball, and what are your thoughts about the texture of it?
Well, okay, so as a player, I hated when the balls change. I don't think that should happen. That's my opinion. I think there should be one ball, and I think it should be consistent. Because as a player, when we used to play the men's ball in Europe, then you come back and you have a women's ball, and like that stunk. So I don't like when they change. I don't think that's good for our game. That's just my opinion. I'm not talking about sponsorship and stuff. I'm just talking about basketball and pure players. But I don't think the ball is bad at all. I think they're, I don't. It's different. It's different, and different is an adjustment. But I'm sure it's an adjustment for North Carolina too. So I think it is what it is, and those are the little things. I think who can handle those types of changes are successful in the tournament. So who can handle like limited, time on the court? Who can handle quick turnarounds? Who can handle not tons of preparation for the next team? Who can handle different ball, different atmosphere? Those are the teams that do well. And last year we were great at handling all that stuff. And so we have to be great at doing whatever we need to do. If we had to play with kind of a flat ball, you do what you do. But so does North Carolina. So you figure out a way, and you don't let any of that stuff get to you.
Coach, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
We're done.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Okay, thanks.
You bet.
Sorry, my son was.
They've all heard it. Coach? How are you? Good. You don't have to be in here for the players if you don't want to. Yeah. Yeah, we'll bring you in when they're done. Okay. Okay, we are going to get started with our student athlete portion of this press conference, and we'll open it up for questions.
Matt Krause, Tar Heel Sports Network. Eva, the Arizona players were talking about how the different ball impacted their shooting last night. Did you feel that the different ball impacted shooting at all?
Personally, no. I think we had time on what day did we play? What was yesterday? Saturday. So we had time on Friday and Saturday to get enough touches with the ball to feel more comfortable with it. And I think that's just something as you get more, like even today and tomorrow we'll have more touches. And so I didn't feel it affected our game at all, but it also depends on the team.
Back row.
Hey, Shelby Swanson, Daily Tar Heels. So after you guys won your game yesterday, you went and you checked out that Arizona UNLV game. What were some things that jumped out to you just watching it from the stands?
Yeah, I think just watching, you saw the physicality that both teams brought, especially with Arizona and their two low posts, which we can expect for tomorrow's game as well. So that was helpful to get some eyes on.
Yeah, and I think building off that too, even just the way they pressed as well. We haven't always seen presses this season, and so just being prepared for that and being able to play up tempo to break the press, but then slow the tempo down when we want to get the shots that we can.
Back row.
Yeah, going off that concept of pressing, Arizona likes to pressure. They like to trap. Stephen F. Austin does as well. What are the similarities? What are the differences? Les, you can go first.
I think some similarities will just be their ball pressure, picking up full court and some things. It was very helpful to play SFA, a team that did some full court pressure in preparation for this game against Arizona, because we were able to see that, we need somebody flashing to the ball. We need to be smart using pass fakes and attacking hips. So all those things we were able to learn, and today we went over them in preparation for Arizona's press.
Yeah, to build off that, to echo everything she just said, and then we also can fine-tune it a little bit to more specific press, but it allowed us to kind of shake off the rust from not having played in 2 weeks and to play against a press that we haven't seen before, and tomorrow we'll just reattack with that in mind.
Front row.
Kim Doss, Arizona Desert Swarm. Arizona was out-rebounded yesterday by UNLV, and you guys are a good rebounding team. What's important about rebounding to you, and what's kind of the philosophy? How do you think you get good at rebounding?
Getting good at rebounding is just a consistent will to go get the ball. It definitely takes a little bit of learned skill, which is boxing out and grabbing the ball with two hands. But it's really whichever team and whichever individual is willing to put themselves in a position where they're going to get bumped around constantly on both ends of the floor. And I think that's a skill that our team takes pride in. Therefore, we've out-rebounded a lot of teams as well in our season.
Front row.
Javier Morales, All Sports Tucson. You guys have played in some big crowds, but not one that's going to be like tomorrow. What's your mindset going into that? And you guys sat and saw what the crowd was like yesterday.
Yeah, I'm excited. Personally, I love to play in front of big crowds, especially at away gyms, because there isn't always necessarily an underlying theme of love. And so you just kind of get to interact with people. And it was fun to see it yesterday and to be able to walk through the crowd and even interact with people then. And they're great. They were friendly, they were fun, and they were congratulating us on moving on. And so personally, I'm really excited.
Yeah, I'm also looking forward to the crowd that Arizona and our team is going to bring tomorrow night. And a crowd similar that we've had to this size, I would say probably be playing at NC State. And that fan base is a little more aggressive towards some of the players, rightfully so, considering the rivalry. So, yeah, I'm also really looking forward to it, and I think our team's going to have a lot of fun playing in that crowd for sure.
Back row to the right.
So Kellington, the point guard for Arizona, just dropped 30 in last night's game, and she was pretty ruthless on the drive. What are you guys looking to do to contain her?
We're just going to stick to our defensive principles. And I think something that separates our players on the defensive end is our pride. We take a lot of pride in shutting players down, and I can't imagine a girl going off for 30 on us.
Yeah, and I think building off that too, we just take a lot of pride in playing together. And so with a player like that, it's not always on one person, it's on the whole team. And so understanding that she just had 30 and she's likely still pretty hot off of that. And so we can kind of be in our gaps better and just talk more and be more prepared for that.
Yeah, and one thing that Arizona just talked about in their press conference was the transition defense, and they really said that that was a key to their game against you guys tomorrow. Could you guys talk about how important that fast break is for you guys in your game?
Just going off of what we were talking about with the defensive side, that leads to our offense. And so we get a lot of runouts. We look to push up the floor. And a lot of teams have started to scout that. As I've been running up the floor, there's some girls that give me contact at the top of the key and the free throw line. And it's a great sign because I'm pulling in a guard and that's going to open up the arc. So I'm excited that they're looking forward to their transition defense because that'll open up other opportunities for our shooting guards.
Next question. Front row.
Is there a team in the ACC that's similar to Arizona from what you've seen that you can compare and help you prepare?
I would probably say Georgia Tech. Just the similarities, I would say, are there two strong and tall low post players, as well as a facilitating guard and a shooter off ball. So I'd say those two are pretty similar, but definitely have to treat them a little differently based on their personnel and the style of play.
Back row, middle.
All right, so you said Georgia Tech. That didn't go so high. What do you need to adjust from that game to prepare for a team that plays similar to them?
I think we learned a ton from that game, and I think that there's a little bit of differences, too, between how Georgia Tech plays and just the press sense of it. And so now understanding how we can attack a little bit more and create more for each other, which I felt like we did a good job as the game went on last night. And so doing that, and then really what Liz said, just allowing our defense to spark our offense in that transition game, because I don't think we had too much of that against Georgia Tech, so that'll be key for tomorrow.
Back to the right.
All right, so this Arizona team, obviously they made it to the national championship last year, and 11 players on their current roster have NCAA tournament experience. You guys are a younger team, and you've kind of talked about that a lot, but in your eyes, what is some experience that you all have from the season that has prepared you for this moment?
I think our most important experience has been every game throughout our season playing together, because at the end of the day, connectedness and putting your team's needs and sacrificing what you need to do for your team is what's gonna take you far. And I think our team's done a great job developing over the season, and we're ready to play any team.
Other questions? All right, we'll go to those attending virtually. We have a question from R.L. Bynum with the Tar Heel Tribune. R.L.?
Hey, Eva, I want to ask you about yesterday. You all went small for long stretches, and that was successful. In looking at the scout, do you think you're going to be able to do that against a bigger Arizona team, or how will the dynamic be different tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, I think those adjustments come as the game goes on, but no matter what size players we put in, there's the heart that makes up for it. And Liz is not the biggest person on the court most of the time, but the way that she fights with some of the biggest players on the court just goes to show that we're not going to back down no matter what the size of the opponent is. And so I think we'll still be able to go small if we need to, because we have that much fight in us, but there's going to be moments where we have some bigger lineups in as well.
And can you talk about the guard matchup with Kellington and Yani? That's one of the more formidable guard matchups you've probably faced this season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just understanding kind of tendencies and personalities and personnel. So some of them aren't as comfortable shooting the three, and so it's understanding how we can play off them in certain situations and allow some help inside. But again, you kind of read it as it goes. Yesterday we played against number 22 who was hitting the three, and so you got to adjust as the game goes on, and that's something that we'll have to do tomorrow as well.
And then Alyssa, kind of a similar question. You ended up playing the 5 a lot yesterday, but the challenges will be greater tomorrow against a taller team. As you were talking about comparing it to the Georgia Tech game, can you talk about what you'll face tomorrow?
Yeah, so like we've talked about, there's two low post players for Arizona that are pretty physical and a lot bigger than myself. But along with the heart that Eva said, I think my speed makes up for a lot of it. So circling the post, making entry really difficult, and I think I have more longevity throughout the game. So I take pride in my conditioning, and have worked really hard with that. So I know I can outlast any post player, and so I'm really excited for that matchup.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll also take a question from JB Ricks.
Hey there, this question is for either player. I appreciate you guys taking out this time. I'm just curious to know if there's any conversation or any motivation coming from the fact that if you guys win this game, you'll get at least one more game and, in front of basically a home crowd in Greensboro, and if that is adding to the motivation of you guys wanting to win this game tomorrow night.
Yeah, it's definitely added motivation. I mean, I think at this point, there's a lot of motivation for us to just keep going. We hadn't won an NCAA game in a while for North Carolina, and so that was motivation for the first. And then the second is beating a team that's ranked higher than us and getting to play in Greensboro. So I think the motivation just kind of keeps piling up, and we're hungry for it.
Okay, R.L. Bynum has a follow-up question. I guess that was a false alarm there.
Yeah, I didn't have another question. Thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
I said I did not have another
Did not,
question.
okay.
Sorry.
All right, well, thank you. Any other questions in the room before we dismiss our student athletes? Okay, you guys are done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
But you'll wait for me. We will. Okay, I'll see you soon. Hi, guys.
Coach, you want to give us an opening comment, and we'll take some questions.
Sure, we're so glad to be here. There's 358 Division I basketball teams, and only 32 are still playing. So we're thrilled to be one of those 32. And it was a little bit of a battle against a very, very good SFA team, and fun to be back doing what we like to do, which is playing hoops and winning in March. So.
Questions up front?
Kim Doss, Arizona Desert Swarm. You talked about that challenge against SFA, and Arizona also struggled against UNLV. What does that tell you about March, and maybe what's going to happen tomorrow?
Yeah, just so many good teams. Women's basketball is in a really good spot. I've been in this game a long time, and seeing the health of it is really inspiring, right? It means your time's worth it. And so, when you have whether they're with Belmont upsetting Oregon, I don't think there are people in Belmont who thought that was an upset, right? The people that are in suits making seeds are one vantage point, but these coaches know a lot about these teams, and the game is just really healthy. And so you're going to have two really good teams that are playing for a Sweet 16 tomorrow night in Arizona and North Carolina, and it'll be a treat. It'll be a treat for a community that's really fallen in love with women's basketball here, and we're honored to be a part of that.
Front row.
Javier Morales, All Sports Tucson. Coach, from a coach's perspective, how do you prepare your team for playing in McHale tomorrow because of the expected maybe sellout and so forth?
Yeah, the crowd. Again, when you put this much time into something, you want it to matter, right? And when we walk out on that floor to start our warm up, and when I come out to meet my team, it'll be very clear that this matters, right? Like, what else could you ask for? I'm coaching basketball for a living, right? That's gratitude on gratitude, and then you're doing it in front of people that care, right? So I think the crowd size, it definitely creates an advantage for Arizona, right? Because their positives feel more positive, and our positives don't feel as positive if you allow the the noise to be a part of it. You know, we've played in front of the ACC is really prideful as well. So we've played in front of great environments. You know, it's kind of known for basketball. And so even, you know, playing at Carmichael, you know, it's loud, even though they're rooting for you, they're still messing with our play calls. I can't hear them. I can't hear, my guys can't hear me. So it's just a testament to this community and how they've rallied around women's basketball and what Adia's done to gravitate the fans back here. It's, as a basketball coach, it's gratifying.
Back row.
All right, Shelby Swanson, Daily Tar Heel. So your players just talked about sort of the experience of playing at NC State as preparation for this big and loud game that they're expecting tomorrow in McHale. Obviously, NC State has a little bit of a smaller gym than McHale, but how do you think that experience has prepared you all for this atmosphere that you're anticipating tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of people that are disrupting your signal calling and things like that, right? But it also creates an environment. Right, and so if I had a choice between a gym full of fans that are not rooting for me and an empty gym, I would choose the gym full of fans that aren't rooting for me, right? It creates an environment, a buzz, an energy. And again, it's a constant reminder that what you're doing matters, right? So NC State has drawn a great crowd. Carmichael, we've drawn a great crowd. It was a great crowd when we went to Louisville my first year, right? So it's a basketball community that there's so many women's teams now that are drawing people. And so the crowd will be a factor in that it brings a lot of enthusiasm, and that it also is they're rooting for one team, right? And so that team will feel that energy as well. Silencing a crowd is kind of what you want to do too. So yeah, it's just I'm so glad to be playing in a game that's going to have so many people who have eyes on it.
Front row, to the right. We're giving our mic holder a really good workout today.
Good.
Hi, Asher Bookspan with the Daily Wildcat. Obviously, Deja Kelly dropped 28 points, but you also have 4 other players in double digits. Do you think that there's kind of one X factor to this team, or that anyone can really step up in any given moment?
Yeah, you know, I think if you're truly a team guy, then you're willing to do whatever the game calls for, right? And when I talked with Deja the day before yesterday's game, I made sure she understood that I don't know, will Arizona require that she scores 28 for us to win, or will it require her to be more of a facilitator and play through their aggressive defense to give other people more open looks? I don't know. I don't know how the game exactly is going to go. It's just having really good players willing to understand what their role needs to be as the moment calls for it, right? And so I'm grateful that we have such great versatility and speed across the roster, because, you know, Toddy had 15, right? Eva was, wherever her stats weren't, she was, right? And Carly, our point guard, almost had a double-double, right? And so that's what that game called for. This will be a totally different game, maybe, or maybe it'll be the same. I don't know. But yeah, to have options in March is a beautiful thing.
A little more of like an X and O's question, but what are the keys that you're breaking down for your players to beating Arizona?
You know, I think it's a short turnaround to play a really good team, right? I think there are some games where, and there are some times throughout the game where you kind of coaches have to play chess a little bit. This is not one of those games, right? This is one of those games where you're late in March, or you're late in your run, and there comes a time where you just got to play basketball. Right, and so how you come together to play basketball, it's that simple. You know, they're up tempo, they're big, right? We also are up tempo, and we can move the ball a bit, you know, really well. And we've got more range from 3 at various spots, right? So we're different in certain ways, but I think we're probably more similar than we are different. In terms of there comes a time where they're going to roll it out and we're going to roll it out, and it's going to be 2 really good teams that have to react to the ebb and flow of the game.
Awesome. And coming off of your win against SFA, obviously they're a team that emphasizes defensive pressure. So is Arizona. What are the takeaways that you have from Saturday's game that you're bringing into tomorrow's game?
Yeah, I think, you know, knowing that we've been able to play against some pressure on this floor. You know, we've been in this gym, we've shot in this gym, we've played against people that are wearing a different color than us in this gym. There's a comfort to that, right? And so although it's a true road game, it's at least we've been here before. We've been here for a while now. But yeah, so I think playing against a similar style of pressure is helpful in that way. If we were playing against a team that played only zone, and then we're going to play a team that plays only man, you're kind of like, but you still at least have the comforts of the gym. And so they pressure a ton. They're a lot like, it was interesting because they said Georgia Tech, there's an innocence to these college kids. They don't really kind of track on all that's happening, right? They're not very similar to Georgia Tech. They're similar in that there's two tall people on the court at one time, right? Other than that, they both want to, Georgia Tech wants to score in the 50s, right? But that's really because their pace of play is slow. That's not Arizona. They're actually very different. If those of you are actually writing an article on this, it's more like Miami on the women's side. Miami's much more up tempo. They've got dynamic guards. They've got elite bigs, and they want to extend the court on both directions over 94 feet. And so their vision's one thing, and my vision's a different.
Other questions for Coach?
Yeah.
Front row.
Obviously, against a kind of smaller SFA team, you guys put up 38 rebounds. You've only put up 22 last night. How do you guys plan to continue to stay aggressive on the glass and fight for those rebounds against a slightly bigger team?
Yeah, I think we've out-rebounded all but one of our opponents. You guys will have the numbers more than me. But we intend to out-rebound every team we play because you get a chance at on both sides of the ball. So position and pursuit on the defensive end, and pursuit on the offensive end is part of what we do. So we've been undersized all year long, and we've rebounded people all year long. We had 50 rebounds in multiple games, and so I have great respect for both Lauren Ware and for Reese, and the ones that come in behind her that are bigger than anybody on my roster, right? But there's a positioning and a pursuit that rebounding requires, and our kids have been pretty consistent at that. And it's an ultimate 50-50 ball, right? And so it dictates who gets the ball, right? And so a game like this, you want to try to have as many possessions as you can. So it's a very key stat, for sure.
Back row to the right.
Somebody asked this to the players just before, and I thought it was an interesting question, so I want to get your take on it. But the idea that winning this game and then you get to go and play in Greensboro again, sort of that is a motivating factor, if you could speak on that.
Yeah. I mean, obviously going back to Greensboro, where this has really become a team that so many people in our state has loved. They've really wrapped their arms around this team. And so for them to be able to come back and get to see their team more, if I had a penny for every text I've received about just please, we just want to see you guys play again this year, right, live. I think it means as much that we'd be giving that back to the fans that have infused so much energy in us, more so than the added motivation for me about where the games are played. It's my family will be here either way, my team will be here either way. So whatever that is great. But yeah, I think for our fans to be able to give them that would be extra special for sure.
Any other questions? Okay, we'll go to the
RL, hit me up, my man.
RL, yes.
Hey, Courtney. Obviously, you played with a lot of smaller players, a lot of the game yesterday. But will you be able to do that against a taller lineup against Arizona, or will you need more from Anya, Ali, and Malou than you got yesterday?
We want to have everybody to help us out. I don't know the answer to that. We as you've seen us play all year, we have to adjust to what the game requires. And we've had some really elite bigs in our league. I think Alyssa Kitley is one of the best players in the country. Obviously, Kunane is one of the best players in the country, and Alyssa's guarded both of them just fine. And so hasn't Des, to be honest. And Des is, I think, even smaller. So I don't know. I mean, I think we need everybody willing to be whatever is needed to help us win this basketball game, just like we need them every time. And had you told me that Ali Z would play so well at home in front of her fans and play so much before the game, I probably wouldn't have believed you. But you just, that's what the game called for. So, if we have to go small, or if going small gives us an advantage, then we're going to do that.
And then Alyssa talked about playing the five and her confidence in matchups where she's given up height. How is she able to navigate that sort of matchup?
There's a lot to be said for a kid who can move her feet in such an elite manner. She's an elite athlete because of the way she can move. She's got great angles. She's really efficient with her footwork. She's got a high motor. She's really competitive. And so, that kind of makes up for size. Of course, you're talking to a below average size basketball coach as well. So size is sort of lost on me. But yeah, I think there's where you get one thing, you have to give up something else, right? And you can't be slow and small. So she has chosen that she's going to be fast and small, or you can, just like you can't be big and useless, right? And so I think she's figured it out. And Anya's figured it out. Malou's figured it out. Z's figured it out, at times throughout the year. So where we've been a little inconsistent, we've always found a way.
And I want to ask about the guard matchup. Obviously, you faced really good guard combinations in the ACC. But what are the special challenges of Kellington and Yani will give you tomorrow?
A similar challenge, honestly, that we've had all year. They're like 27 years old. They've been in this a long time. They've played in national championship games. there comes a level of confidence that comes with experience. They're elite athletically. They've got great physicality, and they're playing in March and the urgency that athletes play with in March. And so, as I've said, I think if you're looking for an easy matchup, then you're in the wrong tournament. So you're not going to get it. You're not going to play a team in the round of 32 that has poor guard play. So whether it was we play Arizona's guards or Maryland's guards or Iowa's guards, or they got to play North Carolina's guards. It's just good guards all over the country that are playing in March, and good bigs. So this is not much different than what we were expecting this time of the year.
Thank you.
Of course.
Got time for any follow-up questions in the room? Got one up front.
This is one that's been kind of asked to everyone
Okay.
since Yani brought it up about switching to a different ball and how that can affect some shooting. Just
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on changing equipment like that and what it can do?
Yeah, I'm not relied on to shoot anymore. I used to be though, and the ball mattered when I was playing, but that was a long time ago. We have, like most programs, we'll have a multitude of balls. We'll have some Adidas balls and we'll have some Spalding balls on our rack because if we're playing a team on the road that has those balls, so it obviously matters. Otherwise, you wouldn't do that. But at the same time, it's kind of like you have two ways to handle it. You either handle it or you don't, right? And basketball, there's lots of different ways to put the ball in the basket. So if you're not shooting well from the perimeter, you should get to the rim. If you're not able to finish, you should shoot from the perimeter. So that's kind of on the players to have to figure out. And we've been here a while. Arizona's allowed us to be here a day early and practice here with the balls and with the gym and stuff like that. So you'd have to ask the shooters on that. But I think it's also, if you're not shooting well, it's really awesome to say it was the ball, right? And I've been known to do that too.
Coach, thank you.
Of course.
We'll let you go
Absolutely. Thanks, my man.
You
See
bet.
tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll be here.
I'm guessing we'll meet again.
Yes, we sure will.